Hey, y'all. So, I need you guys to prepare yourselves a little bit. So, I'm going to be checking in with you. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm a social worker. We don't do that. Write what resonates with you, write what doesn't sit well with you, and think about yourself. That's really what I want you to do. I want you to think about you. Don't think about me, think about you. So, you know your view, and I want you to try and challenge that view while we're here today. White supremacy is everlasting and well ingrained in many of us. I'm asking you to to identify, recognize, and challenge your own biases. It's not going to be easy. It is going to hurt, or it could hurt. I don't know where you are in your process of accepting what is. But if it hurts, I want you to examine why. About the title, white unless otherwise specified, I understand that can already give people feelings. You might be feeling some type of way. I'm asking you to examine that for you. Anyone that ever tells you that they are unbiased in what they're presenting is likely lying, simply because we all come with baggage. Whether or not we're using steamer trunks or small purses, we all have a history. We all have something that we're bringing forward into the work that we do. And to say that you are not biased is, I don't know who you're lying to at that point. You're either lying to yourself, but you're not really lying to me, because I know that nobody is unbiased, in my unbiased opinion. Nuances are important. And oftentimes we lose the full experience because we are ignoring the nuances. So even the way that hair texture and color of skin, they're still rooted in white supremacy. They're still rooted in who's lighter than whom, has better hair texture than whom, is better than whom. And to be able to recognize those things are very important. This is the question to ask yourself. Where is your privilege, and what can't you easily see? To be blind to your privilege and to the difficulties of others is the only way you can be blind to that is when you deny your own privilege. And everybody has some level of privilege. If you're in this room, I'm going to imagine that either you have the privilege of having a job that paid for you to be here, or you were able to pay for it out of your own pocket. And if that is the case, then there's a privilege within that should not be denied. We are educationally privileged. There are people everywhere that are not able to learn what we are able to learn. So recognizing that privilege is important because it also helps to color the way we interact with others. The questions that I really wanted you to be able to answer for yourself and that you should take with you when you go is the who are you? What did you learn about yourself in doing that activity? And what did it spark you to want to know more about yourself for? And when did you adapt what you were taught about the type of person you are based on how you look, based on how you were born, based on those things of which you had no control over? So this is the textbook definition of racism. This is the one that we often like to use to say that, oh, well, it's one person being mean to another one based on their race. That is not the true definition. That's a definition with no nuance. And we just talked about the importance of nuance. So what's important is also noting the power and power structures, at play. So understanding that we're talking about institutional and structural racism. We're not talking about, oh, I was mean to you, you was mean to me. The power of controlling the narrative is rooted within this same racism, within this white supremacy. And being able to understand and talk about that is very important. We are in a position of power as teachers and educators and therapists and whoever else is in this room. We control that narrative. And if we continue to teach the way we teach, how are we ever going to understand what people really want to learn? We never take our hands off the remote to see if somebody wants to watch something else. What does race have to do with sex ed? It has everything to do with sex ed. Cultural implications are often taught at the end of a lesson as an afterthought, taught once and not integrated into anybody's lesson. And I don't know about you, but you cannot tell a hungry child that you gave him food yesterday. We teach sex. We are urging people to have sex ed every year in school, from this grade to that grade. We don't tell them that they learned it all in the first grade class. But we want to tell people of color that they learned everything that they needed to in the 5 minutes that you decided to dedicate to it at the end. The narrative of, oh, you know, Latinx people are spicy, Asians are geishas, blacks are Jezebels, and whites are pure, doesn't honor anybody. And the way that things are shown in media definitely are not helpful. White is purity. This type of stuff happens a lot, and there's a lot of history behind it, behind the advertising that basically says you need to change who you are to be who we want you to be. I mean, look at this one on the bottom. This gentleman here, re-civilize yourself. I don't know if you can see those words, but it's basically like, look like you give a damn. But look what he's throwing away. His afro, his goatee. What are we saying? What is constantly being said to us? It devalues people of color as deviants that require fixing and continues to censor whiteness. But if it was done in reverse, it would hurt. So to understand racism, you need to understand power, sexism, power, poverty, power. And in order to understand power, you need to listen to the powerless. That would be the giving up of the remote control. That would be listening to the people around you instead of having your voice be the one that was censored. So I like to believe that sex education is the center of everything, social justice issues and all. And if you can't understand how sex education is related to health or to poverty or to racism or to education, I would say that that is a moment where I'm saying do more research, learn more, see how white supremacy and anti-blackness specifically continue to permeate every level of what it is that we are doing. Because which neighborhoods do we go in and tell them to stop having babies? Even within the schools, when we go and get this higher education, get these master's degrees, people of color are often not in the room, but they're spoken about. So we are talking about people of color through a Eurocentric lens. So we keep the white supremacist lens on while we talk about them. And I can say that because even in classes where I'm like, oh, y'all are so liberal about so many things, the second somebody says something even remotely relating to black sexuality, people looked at me to confirm. And I'm just like, well, you know, I haven't had sex with every black person on the earth. I've been busy in school like you. But the fact is that you cannot learn to be an ally in a bubble. You can't read it in a book and then that's all you have to do. That does not make you an ally. Ally is about practice. It's about practice, getting feedback, and practicing some more. When you know better, you do better. When we talk about sexual minorities, we're not often talking about people of color who are sexual minorities. When we talk about sex positivity, we're not often talking about people of color, because like I said, Latinas are, they're spicy and exotic and sensual, but they don't get to be anything else. Black women are Jezebels. I said I was going to talk about this through the black woman lens. So can a Jezebel who is said to be oversexed be sex positive? And then let's talk about consent and rape. Again, I just told you that, you know, the Jezebel is oversexed. She can't be raped. Look at the Me Too movement. Who was really included? We know who started it. People of color and women, they don't have the same right to sexuality. It's been denied, and they are seen as sexual deviants. So what else can you do? You can teach about intersectionality. And when you teach about intersectionality, you almost can't mess up because you're teaching about intersectionality. I say almost because I know that some people do what they can to mess up. So the intersectionality, being able to talk about how it impacts sexuality, self-esteem, self-image, and teaching beyond the binary. And I'm not talking about male-woman or male-female, whatever. I'm talking about the black-white binary. I'm talking about teaching to Latinx, indigenous, and Asian cultures. If we are teaching about sexuality, we should also be digging into history. So it should be like a world sex history class type thing. Like, this is where we started, this is where we are, this is where we still have left to go. Work on you first, boo. You are your #1 champ. As they say on airplanes, put on your mask first before helping others. When we know better, we do better, so let's do that. If you have questions, there are mics. So I'm ready to take those questions.